Attack Punk. I'm Jade, and so Ruby is back this week for that Star Wars episode that I've talked about a couple times. So yeah, more Star Wars again, but it's a different topic this time. There will be little to no Last Jedi talk this time.
Well, none, because at this point I can't think of any way to dovetail into that movie with anything that I was thinking of bringing up. I don't know, I suppose I could make a convoluted topic about Force ghosts.
Oh, yeah, I mean, that might come up on its own, because that's a whole thing. I mean, like, my thoughts on Clone Wars, well, I guess before I start saying anything about Clone Wars, I should say, I'll apologize in advance if you hear the sound of cars passing by or birds chirping, because it's kind of warm in here, so I've got the window cracked open. I'll just get that on recording so that I don't have to edit it.
Listen, Jade's live on scene in the Clone Wars, so you gotta give her a break.
Yeah, we're in the quiet part of the Clone Wars. After the battle. They're picking up all the pieces of battle droids out there.
You grabbed anything interesting off the battlefield, Jade?
I mean, there's some pretty cool clone helmets laying around. Like, I don't know, I think if I was gonna rate clone helmets, I like the episode 2/first part of Clone Wars series, like the more Mandalorian-looking ones.
Yeah.
With, like, the T-visor and stuff.
But I don't know, I kind of like them both equally. I thought you were gonna rate, like, although, I'm gonna be honest, you threw me off a little bit, because I thought you were gonna rate the designs on the helmets. And we were gonna have to give them some prime...
Like, if I had to pick a specific one, I guess Captain Rex's T-visor one. I do like the later ones too, where they're more Stormtrooper-esque, but I mean, I've always had a thing for Boba Fett and the Mandalorian designs, so the original clone helmets were closer to the Mandalorian look.
Yeah, I can absolutely get that.
But yeah, so the thing with, like, the Force Ghost and stuff, yeah, my thoughts on Clone Wars, I did find, on this viewing, like, I rewatched a bunch of episodes, like, some of the more major arcs, some of the ones that you recommended, some of the ones that I knew annoyed me, and I found, just overall, I like the series better this time, and a lot of it has to do with the contexts of, like, the first time I was watching it versus this time watching it, and, like, expectations and stuff. Also, Cartoon Network splitting everything up into a weekly basis really throws off the way the narrative reads when you end one episode on... I guess if we just want to jump right into, like, talking about the Pong Krell arc, that one is really weird to watch if you're watching it on a weekly basis. Because it'd be like, the clones are there, this asshole Jedi takes over as their commander, and then by the end of it, they sort of begrudgingly earn his respect. But then you get to the next week, and now they're on his bad side again, and then they sort of begrudgingly earn his respect, and then the same thing happens the third week, a week later, and then in the fourth week, it turns out he's just an asshole, and he wants to kill them all.
Whereas, if you watch it all at once, it's sort of an unfolding narrative about the clones trying to fight their own natural instincts, which are to be nice to this person who they've literally been programmed to respect in all situations, as they're trying to avoid being killed by him.
Yeah, and it's still... Like, watching the whole thing back to back, it was just so weird at the end where they're like, can we shoot him? Why? Yeah, like they're debating strongly whether they can kill this guy who has been gleefully cutting them in half earlier in the episode. Just, like, slicing clones to pieces with his lightsabers, and they're like, should we shoot this guy? Or should we just keep him tied up?
No matter when it is, the clones can never catch a break.
Yeah, I mean, and it still did feel a little sudden when he just goes full evil at the end. Like, Yeah, like he was manipulating the clones against each other for a lot of it, but then at the end he's just like, nah, I'm just gonna kill them all. And like I misremembered, like the first time I saw it, I thought at the end he had said he was working for Dooku all along, but he wasn't. He was just trying to get Dooku's attention.
Yeah, which, I mean, uh, there's an in-narrative justification for that, and then there's just the out-of-narrative justification that I think they just ran out of time, that they were, whoever...
Yeah, because they have like a maximum of 4 episodes if they want to tell a story arc.
Yeah.
Like that's the longest any of them will go for. Yeah. Which almost leads me to a side tangent complaint. I don't know if I should get into that right now or save it for later.
Anyway, what was I saying? Yes, no, I'm pretty sure the longest arcs that ever went on with the Clone Wars were 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Even ones that went across seasons, like the ARC Troopers arc, which is sort of interspaced through the first, and I believe 3rd season? Not a true Star Wars fan, hashtag.
It was either the 3rd or 4th season that started off with the episode about their training, which was weird, because up till then it had felt mostly in order. Aside from, like, I didn't realize that Bounty Hunters episode at the end of season 1 was actually out of place. I thought it was just, it happened, and then they followed up on it 2 seasons later.
And then, yeah, but things start making a lot more sense once you realize they're doing everything asynchronously. Like how the 2nd season starts out with the first attack on Christophsis, the thing the opening movie was about.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that context, you're just wondering why they keep assaulting the same places over and over and over again and never seem to actually win them.
Yeah, and then there was that one Rhodian senator who I think dies in like season 2, and then you see him again in a later season. Like everything was fine.
Oh, yes. No, I think that was the first season, within the first half dozen episodes or something, if I know who you're talking about correctly.
Yeah, the one who Padme calls Uncle. And then,
yes, and then...
he just comes back later, and nobody referenced, hey, weren't you dead?
Yes. That was also when, as a kid, I went, hold on, wait a second, no, this can't be. I may only be, like, 13, but I know how death works, and you don't just get better.
Yeah, like, I saw him, and it took me a minute, because I wasn't paying as close attention, because, I also had, like, all the books and stuff at the time to keep my attention. So, like, I was following the Clone Wars, but I wasn't, like, following it that close. So then it's like, I saw the guy, and I was like, okay, he looks kind of familiar. Wait, I thought he was dead. This is weird.
Yes,
But with like the extended story arc things, one of the things that I found really weird about Clone Wars, especially when, so when the series first started, I had heard somewhere that they said that they were going to have 100 episodes, which would put it at about 5 seasons. So, because it's like 22 episodes a season. So, by the end of season 5, I figured that would be the end, and I mean, the way Ahsoka's arc plays out, yes, season 5, that is a really good conclusion to the series. But when you're watching, like, some of the other, like, the filler-type episodes in season 5, like, they have a 4-part episode about a little frog guy and his team of robots, and them trying to get along. And there's, like, a 4-part episode about younglings having an adventure with pirates. And...
okay,
like,
I will defend.
It felt like they were
one.
running out of time, or they were running out of ideas to me. But then after that, they're like, "Oh no, we had all these scripts for season 6, 7, and 8," and I'm like, "Why didn't you put those in season 5?"
I mean, if I to guess, they probably were defunded around the time that they were starting work on those, which And sort of they were like, here's our pitch for season 6 that we're going to do, and it's going to be great, and it's going to make you all the money, Cartoon Network. And then Disney came along and they were like, yeah, but we're not going to use you anymore, so it doesn't really matter what you had, does it?
Yeah,
well, I suppose
they let them finish
but...
what they had of season 6 and recycle a couple scripts into, like, the Dark Disciple novel and Sons of Dathomir comic. which still didn't wrap up Darth Maul's arc, but now Rebels has done that, so
Yes.
so somebody did it.
I personally, I have problems with Rebels as a series, but I do have to say it's done several things really well. One of them is being the first time in a long time I actually have given like a single interest in Grand Admiral Thrawn as a character and not just as a name people throw around. Well, just because it's been a while since I've actually got to see Grand Admiral Thrawn as a unequivocal villain who does cool things but is still evil. It's not. They're definitely
not like the almost anti-hero Thrawn that he turned into after the Thrawn trilogy.
Yeah. So I mean, I think I remember somebody I was talking to about it put it best about the Rebels Thrawn. This is a complete tangent. I'm gonna have to get off of this after I say this, but the Rebels Thrawn is like if a serial killer had managed to work their way through the ranks through having a very good talent at strategically just setting up all the dominoes to just murder. It's because he takes so much pleasure in how good he is at what he does. And it's beautiful. Anyway, moving back.
I mean, I think Rebels still works as a topic because it feels like an extension of the Clone Wars series. Like, you can tell it's a lot of the same people there. It's just, in some ways, it feels like it was aimed at a younger audience than Clone Wars.
Well, I feel like it was aimed at an audience that exists. I think Rebels has the problem a lot of, like, most animation shows get into is that they have to convince the people they're working for that to actually take them seriously, no matter who they are or what their project is. So you sort of have to dumb it back down for the execs for a little while.
Yeah, like I remember when Rebels Season 1 came out, I just didn't like it at all. And I was also like super bitter at the time because that was when Disney had decided to wipe the canon. But then eventually, after Season 2 came out on DVD, I decided to watch it because I'd seen like bits of the finale with Ahsoka fighting Vader. And I was surprised how much I liked it. You know, Season 2 and 3 were both good. Season 1 was fine. I mean, I've gone back and watched all of Season 1 since.
Yeah, Season 1 was definitely fine. It was alright. It existed.
I mean, at least Ezra, you know, kind of moved on from being Aladdin in space, which is kind of what he was at the start.
Like how Ahsoka moved on from being
the snarky one.
The snark factory. The snark factory who always was right despite always being wrong. Because audience surrogates, am I right?
Yeah.
You have so much to... Oh, God, sorry. No, this is an example of an episode I genuinely dislike, and one of the things that I genuinely dislike this show for doing is what they did to Ventress, which is something I only realized later on.
Yeah, because, like, I grew up, you know, when the prequels were coming out, I had seen episode 2, and then I watched the Tartakovsky Clone Wars cartoon so many times. Like, I taped it all, like, Cartoon Network had a marathon where they played all 20 episodes of Season 1, and then after Season 2 came out, the 5 episodes of that, just back to back to back. I taped the whole thing, I watched it over and over and over, so that version of Ventress, who's just like a brutal fighter who wants to prove herself as a Sith, was the Ventress that I knew. And then I saw the movie in theaters where she's flirting with Obi-Wan when they're fighting, and it just felt wrong.
Okay, so, yes, and just...
Like, she got better later on when they, like, bring in the Night Sisters and stuff, but...
Oh, absolutely, then they actually gave her a character, but yes, no, early on, I think this was, like, the first season? Yes, it was, because, and I don't know if you watched this episode or even remember its existence, because I only remember it for a couple of moments that I that I can use to exemplify some of the problems that Clone Wars itself actually has that aren't structural problems with the fact that they're having to follow the prequel trilogy. And sort of its ethos. What's the plural of ethics?
People know what you mean.
Yes. It was an episode where Luminara Nuli and Ahsoka Tano were having to transport Newt Gunray to space prison. This was after the episode in which Uncle whoever the heck, Rodian guy, got killed.
Yeah, it would have been nice if it was Uncle Oni.
Sorry, I'm just
Adventures on references.
Yes, but Padme Amidala being followed around by a creepy doll the entire time.
Yeah.
I'd watch that.
Yeah.
I'd watch that TV show. It'd be beautiful. Anyway, where was I?
Yeah, the Rodian guy died, and they were taking Gunray off to prison.
They were taking Gunray off to space jail, which it has never worked before, but I guess we'll try it again. Why not? And Ventress breaks onto the ship and gets him out, and there's just a lot of bad writing that exemplifies the early seasons, just in dialogue.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like the dialogue in general had a lot of especially, I rewatched the movie, which is one of the things I watched, and the bad dialogue in that is burned into my brain. Like,
I told you not to.
I had to, because it was my first exposure to it.
Okay, but to be fair, I will point out, I did not watch it, because...
I had to remind myself of the scene where Ahsoka and Rex are talking about experience, and they use the word experience like 10 times in their back and forth.
Yes, I had to watch this movie last year, Jade. I remember that moment.
Yeah.
It feels like at some point a meme is just going to start. You're just going to start hearing... Like, I don't know.
If experience outranks everything, I guess I better start getting some.
I don't know, steamed hams, but every time somebody says experience...
Yeah, that could be a good meme.
I don't know. I went for a meme that's hot right now, and
Yeah, and the movie also had problems like trying to make Jabba sympathetic. It's like, oh no, the son of this brutal crime lord who we see murdering people in Return of the Jedi, his son's been kidnapped. We gotta go help him.
To be fair, I think it would have worked if that would not have been a kids show, but instead had been a buddy cop drama. Like, just imagine.
And if they acknowledge a little bit more that this is Jabba the Hutt we're talking about. Yes.
Like, just imagine if that scene had been framed instead of, like, we gotta go save Jabba the Hutt's son, oh no. So Jabba the Hutt just set out a bounty for every Jedi in the galaxy unless his son is back in his house by 3:00 on Thursday.
Yeah, if they had set it up with the idea that the Jedi had kidnapped him, instead of, like, over the course of the movie, they have Dooku get that, like, false evidence that the Jedi kidnapped his son. As they were in the process of rescuing him. They are then blamed for it.
Which is always a fun way to do things. I totally didn't steal this kid that everyone thinks I stole. It was them. You're holding it. You're holding the kid right now. I have you on tape. What do you know? You have him. Throws Jabba the Hutt's son and Anakin.
But you were saying about Ventress and Gunray and...
Oh, yes. No, just that entire episode just has a lot of just bad writing and bad ventressing. Luckily, manages to avoid something that as soon as I realized what was coming, I was very terrified of for a brief moment, which was they're not gonna have Ventress try to flirt with Ahsoka, are they? Please don't do this to me. Please don't do the evil lesbians trope again. Why? Jeez. But they did not. That is at the very least, a tiny consolation prize for this episode. You did not go to the worst thing that I could immediately think of you doing in this episode.
I mean, they did have the Barris thing, but that's more of a betrayal than,
Yes.
And that took 5 seasons to unfold.
That is true. Also, it's not, I'm evil and I'm a lesbian.
Yeah.
Come at me.
Yeah.
As so often seems to happen. I'm looking at you, Star Trek. Sorry.
Yeah. But over time, well, I mean, by season 2, they had some good arcs in there.
Oh yeah, by season 2, they start to interact together, which is something I notice happens a lot in shows, but particularly with the Clone Wars, the quality doesn't so much, like, rise, as it just sort of, like, hits a cliff and goes straight up.
Yeah.
For a little while. And Ventress eventually gets better, although I do have to agree that the Tartakovsky version was better, especially in, like, the design. Now that I've noticed, I can't stand the Ventress design of the 2008 Clone Wars.
Yeah, like, I think in later seasons, if she didn't get the outfit she had in the classic 2D, she had something close to it.
Yeah, well, she had an outfit that wasn't just...
like a boob window outfit.
Yes, look at how sexy I am, look at how sexy I am, look at me stab you.
Yeah, and then, like I guess it's probably because they couldn't animate skirts in motion, but the duel with Obi-Wan, she takes the skirt off so you can see her legs. Which I think is just an animation thing, but...
Which is probably an animation thing, but weird. It was also poorly conceived. That's one of those problems that it's like, we can't get the shot, so let's just frame it from behind. No! Hold on! Yeah,
frame it from the waist up, and then you don't have to worry about the skirt.
Oh, no, I was meaning, like, it's like if a director said, I can't get this shot properly, so let's frame it from right behind the female lead's ass. That's... Well, okay, see, I guess that's a way of getting the shot you wanted if you're wanting to see something, if you're wanting to get, like, her in the ground, but, like, no, you don't realize the implication of what you've just done here.
Yeah, like, unless the scene is about the temptation of that ass, then...
Truly the movie of our time, but,
yeah.
The last...
And now I'm just thinking of Idiocracy and...
Oh, I'm just thinking of a sequel to The Last Temptation of Christ, but The Last Temptation of that ass.
Yeah, I mean, because, Idiocracy had a fake movie in, like, a theater that the guy goes to see, and it's called Ass, and it's a picture of a butt on screen for 2 hours, occasionally farting.
Okay, if it wasn't the occasionally farting bit, I'd go see that, but, you know. Depends on how good.
I mean, I think it was farting. The joke is that it won a bunch of Academy Awards.
I mean, if you in front of that butt put, like, two people of different races talking about how they can just get along, it probably would win an Academy Award. Also, put, like, a Hollywood sign, like, in the far left corner.
Yeah, the ass has to belong to a major actor.
It's just George Clooney's ass talking about race for 2 hours with a Hollywood sign in the background. Yes, there we go. Solves the... Yep. It's a better film than Crash. Topical humor. It's a decade and a half old now, but yes. Clone Wars.
Yeah, Clone Wars. So yeah, because, like, we've got some questions, but most of them don't relate to the specific episodes. I know at some point Mortis is going to have to come up.
Mortis. I've been trying to think of where to put this in, because I have a question. Did you like the Mortis arc?
Nope.
Well, good, neither did I. I was worried for a second I was going to have to deal with that instance where I was going to have to try to defend and simultaneously attack something.
Yeah, no, Mortis and the Yoda arc at the end of Season 6 were both ones that fascinate me because they try to go metaphysical and like explore aspects of the Force, but I also hate them because they're just bullshit. So
see, we can agree on that. Because I think this the Mortis arc, honestly, like what I texted you about, I thought this was going to be a great episode to kind of examine the great heights the Clone Wars went to, and yet how being shackled sometimes really, really fucked them up. This is a great example because on paper, this is a great concept to work with. Having Anakin show up on a planet or wherever and have visions where the two people that are most important in his life, Obi-Wan Kenobi and Ahsoka Tano, are represented as versions of the Force, as the two sides of the Force, and the dark side tries to tempt him into falling. It's a good concept on paper, right? Like, that sounds
I mean, like, the execution has issues, like how he resists the dark side, so then the dark side guy is just like, well, fuck this, and he forces him to turn to the dark side and gives him a vision of himself turning into Darth Vader.
Which happens
Which breaks the canon so hard that the father shows up, he's like, nope, I gotta take these memories away, we broke things.
That is true, and that happens, if you'll recall, the dark side managing to convert people list in this episode is 0 out of 2, because it doesn't even work on Ahsoka, which is stupid because they had that, and this is a great metaphor for the Clone Wars sometimes. They had everything in the ball. Ahsoka was this close to falling, and then they realized, wait, shit, we can't afford another minute in this episode. Ding!
So they just hit her with the Sith poison stuff that gives her veiny skin, and now she's evil.
To be fair, that is a look. Registered trademark look. I would not say no to looking like that some days.
And behind the scenes nerd stuff, I was sad to learn that they had modeled out Darth Bane and Darth Revan to appear in just like background cameos in one of the visions, but then they left it out.
Yeah.
Which would have given them a backdoor entrance into being officially still part of canon. But
that is definitely true. I'm kind of sad about that. But
that's one of the things I appreciate about the show now that I didn't appreciate back then. Because, I guess now I can get into this discussion. One of the things I didn't like about the show when I first saw it that has now flip-flopped, it's basically reversed, is that canon, that big old sticky pile of shit that we call canon, when the show came out, it was under the old canon, which was established, and I had to look this up because I actually misremembered parts of it. It was in a tier system because they didn't want George Lucas to have to like read all the books and be beholden to other people's ideas. So they had G, T, C, and S were like the main levels of canon. It's George Lucas canon, which is the films, and the scripts that he wrote, anything he directly did is like the canon that can't be contradicted except by itself when George Lucas fucks.
But George Lucas wants to, because I'm George Lucas.
Because he forgot that he said that Leia saw her mother and our mother's dead when she was just born. But,
little stuff that you forget when you don't direct a movie again in 2 decades and don't write notes and write all of your of your sequels on a fly. Little things you forget.
You're like so rich and famous and respected that nobody on your crew will contradict you even when you're doing something terrible.
Yes.
So they all just sat back and watched the horror unfold and never said anything.
Yeah. No, the behind the scenes to the prequels are beautiful to behold, honestly. Especially just watching Ewan McGregor's face across the years. Like, bless that man. Tries so hard.
Yeah, but yeah, so there was that T-canon television, which it didn't apply to the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, it's only the new Clone Wars, which was current at the time, because George Lucas directly worked on that show as, like, a producer, and he, like, picked all the writers, and they would, like, sit down with him and talk about, like, what do you think the Mandalorians should be like? Well, I know they've been a warlike culture, but I want them to be pacifists, and the warlike ones are just terrorists that hang out in the group. So, like, he would change things, and honestly, he also did, like, the bullshit, like, renaming Korriban to Moraband just because he felt like it.
Well, yes.
But
some of those changes I like. Some of those changes are bullshit. And
yeah, and even then, the writers,
all.
like the writers of the books and stuff could still fix a lot of it. Like, in the Bounty Hunter Handbook, they actually, like, make that Mandalorian thing make sense with the other Mandalorian things, because they say, like, this is a time in their history, and that's why, they had this government instead of, like, the roaming nomad tribes.
Because it turns out being, smacked into the ground a dozen times by every power in space. Eventually, you stop running out of bodies to work with, I guess.
Yeah, and honestly, like, when I first saw the Mandalorian episodes in Season 2, I really liked them because they had Death Watch as the villain, and they are a group of characters from the Jango Fett origin story comic, Open Seasons. So it's like, okay, cool, they're referencing this group of people, and yeah, it would make sense that they would be, like, the terrorist ones, because in that comic, there were, like, 2 roaming bands of Mandalorians. There's the Death Watch, and there's the True Mandalorians, and the Death Watch basically wipes out the True Mandalorians, except for Jango, and then he just becomes a bounty hunter after that. But he does get his revenge and kills Tor Vizsla, who I think is some relative of Pre-Vizsla from Clone Wars. Like, maybe his father or something.
I was going to say,
a decade
it's
before.
Probably the father, because
yeah.
Narrative rules, it's always the father. It's not usually, like, the second cousin of...
Yeah.
The second cousin of the crown.
Yeah.
So?
Yeah, so that, I mean, that was cool, because they had a Vizsla there, and now it's a different Vizsla, and he's in charge of the Death Watch, so they referenced that, and that was cool. Another nitpick in the Season 2 disc set, I then watched the documentary about Mandalorians, and they said, yeah, because I figured the reason that they had them all dressed like Jango Fett was because the budget, they couldn't take the time to animate different armors. And then they said, well, no, we're fully aware that there are different colors of armor, but these guys are an army, so they should all wear the same color. And I'm like, well, that's bullshit. But whatever.
I mean,
but anyway,
it is. But
and even then, like, in later seasons, they do give them a little more variety. They have, like, Shay, I forgot her last name.
Don't ask the Mandalorian arc.
Yeah, the one who was, like, the sister of the Duchess. Yeah, she had, like, her own custom armor. And then by Rebels, they've all got, like, their unique armors again, so whatever, it's all cool.
And of course, she's got one of the main characters in Rebels, who just has...
Yeah, she's got her own, like, custom painted armor.
Yeah, who just has the Maryland flag of armor sets. Just...
Yeah, and they brought back the planet Conquered Dawn, which was super cool. Yeah, that's from a Boba Fett story, and then retconned to be Jango Fett's home planet, and now it's back in canon. So I was happy for that. But with canon tiers, they had television canon. So movies override television, which overrides C canon, which is continuity, which is basically everything else. And then there's S, which is secondary canon, which is, like, older stuff like the Marvel comics or the Jedi Prince books, or things that are, like, ambiguously kind of, they don't really fit, but they're...
The drawer that people shove things that were canon into when somebody realizes, wait a second, hold on, they're talking about Leia's mother.
Yeah, and their justification for that was that, like, the Marvel comics were written at a time when they weren't trying to have a consistent canon. Like, by the time the Bantam Spectre books came out, they were making an effort to coordinate themselves and the Dark Horse comics all into one cohesive universe.
Yeah.
So, and even then, like, later on, they would reach into that stuff, and they brought back the Zeltrons, and
Yes.
Lumia came back for the Legacy series. And I could have sworn, this is the part where I got confused, that there was a thing called D-Canon, which was for reference books, which was like a stage below, you know, the actual stories, which would make sense, you know, like if a reference book said something and then an actually written story that happens says something different, then the story overrides the reference book. But anyway, the reason Clone Wars annoyed me when I first watched it was because T-Canon overrides C-Canon, which means if they say Quinlan Vos is this happy-go-lucky guy who hangs out with Obi-Wan, then it's like, okay, so that overrides the, like, morally complex Quinlan Vos that we had in, like, the comics. So it would, like, annoy me when they would, like, reference something from Expanded Universe, but then change it, and it's like, well, this is the official one now, goodbye, other thing that you had. But now, after the Disney takeover and, like, everything got wiped out, it's flipped for me, because now Clone Wars is the thing that's actually preserving all those things that otherwise would have just been lost. So I guess, yeah, that's I think that's, like, the main reason why I enjoy the show more, and also, like, my expectations for the show aren't as harsh as they were back then. Like, I can just appreciate it as a story in its own right, because they kind of all equally matter and don't matter now, I guess.
Yeah. And
especially where I'm so burned by Disney that it's like, well, I guess I have to take the stories on their own, like, just the story by itself. Do I like this story, not caring what it means for the universe? Because the universe is fucked. Like, after Last Jedi, I just don't give a fuck about any of the movies they're developing now. I'm probably going to watch them anyway, and I'm hoping they'll win me back, but I could not care less about Solo or Episode 9 or... I guess if they get Ewan McGregor back for the Obi-Wan movie, that could be fun. But
I was going to say, I could definitely use Ewan McGregor space western.
Yeah.
Which is honestly one of my favorite episodes of Rebels, was the conclusion to the Darth Maul arc, which has just a part that is Ewan McGregor, white hat sheriff, shows up in the desert.
Yeah, and then he has his final showdown with Maul.
Yeah. Which, a beautiful moment. But anywho.
And also, there was an Obi-Wan Western novel that was pretty good. Like, it's pretty much a straight-up Western with, Obi-Wan is the white hat who just wanders into this problem that, like, the moisture farmer settlers are having with the Tusken Raider natives. So.
Yeah. Who wanders into a town that's plagued by Comanche Raiders. I mean, Tusken Raiders. Da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Yeah, the Tusken Raiders are the native tribe, and I guess, spoilers for the novel, one of the settlers is trying to, like, steal the other settler's land. Or one of the moisture farmers wants to steal the other farmer's land. So he and his sons dress up like Tusken Raiders and raid the other farms, and so the Tuskens get blamed for this moisture farmer, you know, exploiting the racial tensions between the groups.
This is an episode of The Lone Ranger.
Yep. Yeah, so a movie like that would be great.
I paused there for a second because I tried to remember what the theme tune for The Lone Ranger was, and then I went, no, fuck. But no.
So
a Western movie would be beautiful. But no, the Mortis arc going all the way back.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yes, no, that episode was like, because like it's an interesting, and I really liked it. Like I came into the first episode and I'm like, I hated this episode, this series of episodes when I first saw it, and I can't remember why. Okay, let's watch it.
Yeah, like the first episode, it's strange. Like, I still, like, the whole idea, because I wasn't sure what to make of it, what they meant for the universe with this idea of this is the incarnation of the light side, this is the incarnation of the dark side, this is the incarnation of balance. So it's like, okay, so do these people control the Force? Or are they just very powerful Force users? Or what the hell are they, and why are they in an inverted pyramid in space?
I mean, I just, being the theology dork, I am immediately latched onto this as, alright, so this is a moral test. I mean, no, you've got the angel, the devil, and the old man in the road. Okay, we've got this. Boom. I got you. I got you, episode. I got you where you're going with this. We're good. You don't need to, like, explain this to me. I've got the idea where you're going with this. And I'm like, why did I hate this before? This is setting up a lot of interesting stuff. It's so good. It's got the light and the dark. Eat each other. And yes, okay, we're working with some interesting Zen concepts here. Okay, we're moving. What the fuck did you just do?
Which part? All the parts?
Well, it sort of happened. I can't remember when exactly it happened in the first episode, but as soon as they started talking about balance, my brain went, "Oh, God, you." Okay, so George Lucas read a Zen philosophy book at some point in the prequel trilogy and won't stop talking about it. Jeez.
Yeah. I mean, usually when they try to discuss metaphysics, it feels like they're talking out of their ass.
Well, because that's the problem. It's like, the original trilogy, and I'm not an original trilogy purist. One of my favorite Star Wars things ever is the Clone Wars, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
The 2008 show, The Clone Wars. I like it more than Return of the Jedi by quite a significant margin. I don't really trilogy purism, but like they set up a lot of concepts in that first one about the Force, and like one of the most basic ones is it's really easy to understand, and they made it really easy to understand because they didn't have time to set it up or anything, but they used a lot of like samurai movie tropes and a lot of Eastern philosophy, but evil is evil and evil is bad.
Yep.
That's not how Zen philosophy is not. Evil is sometimes good because it's used to make good better. That's not how that works.
Yeah, and like, the whole idea of like what is the light side and what is the dark side, they never really seem to settle on that.
That is
like they
true.
want to have the yin yang balance of light and dark, but at the same time, it is solidly tied to like morality. You know, light is the good thing that does good things, and dark is the bad thing that does bad things.
Bad things. Yeah.
And like George Lucas himself, when in other times he's tried to explain the Force, he describes the dark side as like the light side is acting in balance with the Force, and the dark side is a cancer on that where you're acting out of balance in the Force and trying to like rip power away from it. So from that point of view, the light side is the balance. Like, it's not about balancing the light and the dark. If you are acting in the light, that means you are acting in balance. With, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what my interpretations. And like, okay, to just briefly go into an aside.
This episode's all asides.
At least in original
Taoism. It'll make enough sense to people, I think.
At least in original Taoism, because the whole yin yang thing comes up a lot, especially in this Mortis arc. The yin yang is basically just thrown, it's never used explicitly as a symbol, but
there is that thing where Anakin is standing in the circle with Obi-Wan and Ahsoka suspended by the light and dark bird monster things.
Yes.
And he makes the circle light up with light and dark because he's pulling on them hard enough with the Force.
Thank you for reminding me. But, like, the whole... Okay, and I'm not going to say that I am a trained Taoist or anything. Like, that is not a thing I can claim by any means. But, as someone with at least a little interest in this sort of thing, in Taoism, good and evil aren't what it's actually judging. It's judging how most contrary forces are interconnected and interdependent upon each other. Generally light and dark, fire and water, expansion, contraction. It's a symbol of how the universe works, of how it keeps moving. It's not a moral philosophy. Taoism isn't. At least not as far as that goes. It's a at least not at the fundamental level of the universe. It's not a moral philosophy. It makes moral judgments, but that's a different thing. I mean, this changes later on, but in like Confucianism and stuff. But I know absolutely jack about Confucianism. I'm not going to get into it. I'm talking really fast to get to the point I'm making, which is the yin and yang symbol is, if anything, more about like the principle of like naturalism and how the universe needs interconnected things to work, and how it keeps always balances itself out really at the end between order and chaos, light and dark. It's not
it's not like the kind of almost Christian morality that they try to delve into when they're like light is good, dark is bad. Angel demon thing. And
like that's a pretty basic thing of almost any philosophy, is bad is bad. There are many moral philosophies that go bad is okay, actually, with very few exceptions. But it's a it's a weird, almost sort of like philosophy of God. Why do bad things happen? Way of explaining balance in the universe. Well, you need bad things to make good things happen. No bullshit. Wait, hold on. What are you even talking about?
Yeah.
You quite clearly don't need a genocidal maniac existing for several centuries in order for goodness to happen in the universe. We saw what happened when they were in existence. They fought each other to the death. It's anyway. Yes, that's a bullshit thing that I like I said. Sometimes Clone Wars as a show was shackled in places that it didn't need to go, and and it suffered a lot for it. But
yeah, and the best part with Mortis is that so in the season 3 DVD set, there is a documentary where they talk about what the meaning of Mortis is. And it's basically Dave Filoni sitting in front of the camera and saying, okay, so we thought a lot about this, and we have an explanation for how it works, but if I told you that, it would ruin the mystery and the magic that we were going for. So I can't tell you.
That's why it's in a behind-the-scenes section, okay.
Just utter bullshit of, it's like, I could tell you what this means, but then I would deprive you of the joy of finding out for yourself. Figure out my puzzle, stupid fans.
I actually do like David Filoni, so I like to imagine that's more naivete.
There's like, well, I can't figure out this shit that George told us to write either, so...
Yeah,
there you go.
A little bit of that, and a little bit of, like, Walt Disney-style showmanship, than, like, just telling the fans to fuck off. But
yeah, and they figured they would spin this like thing that looks like it's deep, but maybe they actually don't know what it means, and they were just like, well, it clearly must mean something. I mean, it's like Zack Snyder and his like Superman is Jesus stuff.
It's gotta mean something.
It looks deep, so just dig into it a little more and you'll figure it out.
Tell me what it means.
I mean, yeah, and it's like on the surface it looks so obvious that it's like, oh, it can't be that obvious. I mean, it's like, okay, so you're saying Anakin is torn between whether he wants to be good or bad? Like, was this 3 episodes of weird, like, mythic-looking creatures and stuff just trying to argue out whether he's gonna be a good guy or a bad guy?
I can. and like I said, I can get behind it. Like the last episode, because I'm not going to talk about the middle episode, because it's pointless and
I mean, I'll definitely say at least it's memorable. It was like weird, batshit crazy, but it was memorable.
It is that, and like I like the imagery it uses is the thing. Like it has a lot of very interesting and good imagery, and I would love, and I am an absolute slut for like Star Wars actually delving into like examining the Force and what it means, and like using like
I think "Slut for the Force" might be the title of this episode now.
Beautiful, same, honestly, but I just anytime they like bring it up is like an interesting discussion to have, because it's something that separates Star Wars as a story and as a universe from just being another science fiction story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, another sci-fi with fantasy elements.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the fact that it explicitly like uses those fantasy and philosophical elements to keep it from just being sci-fi, but with some stuff.
Yeah, because like originally it was George Lucas couldn't get the rights to Flash Gordon, so he just made his own. But he added depth that Flash Gordon never had.
Yeah, and like so, examining that is always interesting to me, and like using those mythological elements. Like I think I've gone on record before as saying like, if I had gotten a hold of the prequel trilogy, I probably would have tried to end up making it a Shakespearean tragedy in like lieu of. I'm not going to say Hamlet, but I'm going to say Hamlet because that's the touchstone I'm going to work with, because I can't remember another good Shakespeare play to use in the tragedy column that isn't going to completely derail my point. But
yeah, like I don't know if Macbeth would work.
Actually, Padme as Macbeth is an interesting character choice I've worked through before.
Yeah, if they had Padme as the one like egging him on the whole way to be the evil mastermind.
Or just having Padme do something. Anything. Yeah. Another point for the Clone Wars, Padme actually does something. At some point.
Yeah, Jar Jar actually does something. For what that's worth.
For what it's worth, yes. But there are actually female characters in Clone Wars that do things and don't die immediately. It's crazy. But, Stark aside, the Mortis art is, like, it examines a lot of interesting stuff. And, like, I love the imagery in it. Like, the last episode where Anakin, like, the whole bit with the embodiment of the dark side, where he's like, will it bring peace, is a good line. I like the entire framing of that part of the scene is like this beautiful moment of like, the dark side keeps trying to tempt him in all these various ways, and he's not buying it, and then he goes, will it bring peace? And the dark side's like, yeah, it'll bring peace. And that's a really, like, that is a certain kind of peace, but, like, I like the way that
peace is, through crushing your
done,
enemies.
And I like that version of Anakin falling, if that makes sense. Like, the Anakin that doesn't go evil because he loved his wife too much. I want to bash my head into a wall every time I think about the implications of that. But
Clone Wars definitely, like, Anakin's fall, like, the thing with him wanting peace is a good motivation, and also, like, I like the idea, since, like, one of the things Vader's most known for is, like, crushing the life out of, like, anyone who either gets in his way or just bothers him, like...
Yeah, who disrupts his
enemy,
control.
friend or foe, he chokes a rebel guy to death in A New Hope, and then force chokes an Imperial guy who's mouthing off to him in The Office.
Wait.
Yeah, like...
Sorry, did you say in The Office?
Yeah, I couldn't think of the word for a quicker way to say conference hall or whatever.
Sorry, no, because I just... Tangent, I
I'm sure there is a Vader office, like YouTube video of him choking people.
It's like, wait, hold on. Was there an episode of The Office where this happened and I didn't know about it? Anyway.
Yeah, he was choking, what's his nuts in front of Tarkin, and then it cut to a cutaway of him staring at the camera. So
cut to camera.
Saying how much he hates that guy.
Yeah, Vader cuts to the camera and just goes, you know, these Imperial officers really ought to know when to shut up.
Yep.
I've killed about 3 of them on the way to this conference alone, and they won't stop talking.
Yeah, but yeah, like Clone Wars, they have like a few good moments. Like there was the thing in the Brain Eaters, Brain Worms arc thing, where he's trying to get Poggle the Lester to say where Ahsoka is, where that like zombie queen they're taking her is. And the guy won't talk, so he just dismisses the clone troopers and walks up to him and starts force strangling him until he tells. Which seems like a very Vader thing to do.
Yeah, like that happens a lot throughout the show.
Like there was that, and then there was in the Slaver arc in season 4.
Oh, yes.
There was, he has to like pose as a slaver to talk to like the queen person there, and try to like find out what's going on, find whatever they were trying to find there. And then after she has like Obi-Wan arrested, I think it was after that he starts choking her, and then she manages to talk him out of it. But
oh yeah, no, he goes berserk several times throughout that series because and this is a theme with the Clone Wars that I really like, and like this is like Anakin absolutely cannot handle in this show losing control of a situation.
Yeah.
And that's a great theme to work with Vader.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ, it took you a decade to realize this, but you got to it, which is that a great motivation for Vader is control. That's Vader's entire shtick. Having control, but not having any at all, in reality. The most terrifying man in the Empire, who can kill people with basically a thought and a couple finger exercises, who can direct around entire fleets at a whim, but yet is so powerless he can't even breathe on his own. It's and Anakin, a person who basically spends his entire life being told what to do and running from his own fears that he can't control. It's right there.
Better late than never.
Better late than never, and it's a really good thing that they keep doing, and like control in his life and wanting goals, but being willing to be completely heartless about how he goes about them is like a very Anakin thing to do. If you go by Vader and how they talk about Vader and how they talk about Anakin, as opposed to Anakin, the hothead who occasionally gets really mad and kills a bunch of people.
Yeah.
Which is the thing I really liked. Another thing I kind of liked about the Mortis arc. Also in the Mortis arc, even when they're being really bad, did you notice something about the Clone Wars and how, say, our titular main characters who spent most of the prequel trilogy talking about how good friends they were and arguing about that?
What you mean in how in the prequels they didn't really like they talked about being friends, but aside from like a few nods and winks at the start of episode 3, it was more of a master-apprentice thing.
And how it was how Obi-Wan and Anakin spent most of the time talking about how good friends they were, and then descending into just giant fights about every tiny thing imaginable.
Yeah, because in the prequels, because of the age difference between Obi-Wan and Anakin, he's more like a surrogate father for Anakin, and, like, episode 3 at the start, when they're rescuing Palpatine, there's, like, a few moments where it's like, okay, yeah, these guys have been working together for a while, and they like each other, but aside from that, yeah, they're mostly arguing.
Yeah, which is I don't know who made that executive decision, but it was bad. And in the Clone Wars, they actually do a good job of, actually making these people look like they like each other? Somehow? Why is my voice up that high? Holy cow.
Because it's affecting you that much.
I'm getting emotional, okay? We haven't even gotten to talking about how much I love Ahsoka yet.
Yeah, like, I think the only other thing on my specific episodes to mention is the Yoda stuff at the end.
I did not watch the Yoda stuff at the end.
Okay.
But you could certainly talk about it, and I'll probably start getting flashbacks about it and screaming in terror, but...
Yeah, because that was the other example, like that one in Mortis, of their trying to get into the crazy metaphysics stuff, like they... And also, okay, so it starts off with Yoda starts hearing the voice of Qui-Gon's ghost talking to him, which is a thing that the end of episode 3 established, that, yeah, Yoda had been in contact with Qui-Gon, or at least he'd heard from him. But it also kind of creates a plot hole in that he then goes and tells the rest of the Jedi Council, like, hey, I've been hearing Qui-Gon's voice. And they're like, oh no, this is weird, that never happens, maybe it's a Sith trick. But then at the end of episode 3, he says the exact same thing to Obi-Wan. He's like, hey, I've been talking to Qui-Gon. And Obi-Wan's like, what, really? Wow, that's cool.
Yes, because they forgot to not include one person in the scene. It suddenly is really weird.
Yeah, and actually, I'd have to watch it again just to make sure that Obi-Wan was in the room, because I'm not sure. He definitely talked to Anakin and said, hey, I've been talking to Qui-Gon.
I can send you send you the wiki page for the episode you're talking about, Voices, and just look at the title card there.
Oh, and it's right on there?
Yeah, here, look.
It shows Obi-Wan in the room.
Yeah, no, there's like 7 people you can see in this scene, and Obi-Wan is the one that's best in frame aside from Yoda.
Yeah, so that creates a plot hole.
Perfect line of action. Just Obi-Wan staring at Yoda incredulously. It's beautiful framing, except for the fact that Obi-Wan's not supposed to be there.
Yeah, so that was weird, but it leads Obi-Wan to then go to Dagobah, which explains why he chose Dagobah as a planet, because Qui-Gon led him there, and there was like the cave with the power of the dark side, and it gives him a vision, and I don't think it was there. I think it was after there. The Qui-Gon voice tells him to then go to this planet that all the midichlorians come from. It's like this kind of a ball that's just like shooting these golden spores out into space, and that's where midichlorians come from. It's this weird seed pod planet. So he like... It was weird that they would even do that in the first place. That they would want to, like, explain, okay, so, in case the idea of midichlorians seem like weird bullshit to you, now we're gonna explain where they came from. So... And
we're gonna do it in a weird stork metaphor, but okay, we're going for it.
Yeah, so there's, like, this one planet that shoots the midichlorians everywhere, and since the midichlorians are bonded to all life, basically all life in the galaxy came from this one planet once upon a time. So Yoda lands on the planet and ends up talking to these 5 in, like, the episode after, in, like, the opening crawl where they're explaining what happened. Apparently they're priestesses. Like, that's what they called them. They're like these 5 ghost people who have basically theater masks of emotions on their faces. So I guess Yoda does an Inside Out for an episode. He's talking to the 5 emotions that represent the Force, I guess.
I kind of remember this now.
Yeah, there was like joy and serenity were the last 2. I think sadness was one of them. Yeah,
no, it's Inside Out.
Yeah, so Yoda does Inside Out. He talks to the 5 spirits of the Force about how he can manifest himself as a ghost after death. And then they tell him, okay, you gotta do a trial, so we're gonna send you to Moraband, the ancestral home of the Sith, so you can face the dark side. And although I think before that, he actually, as he's walking around that planet, he ends up fighting his own personal dark side, which is basically like Shadow Golem. It's like, an evil black Yoda with red eyes that like crawls around and like he's doing evil Yoda voice, but it sounds like Gollum voice. And he has a fist fight with his evil self and ends up saying like, I reject you, and then grabs his face and makes him explode. So that's how you deal with your inner demons. You punch them and then make them explode. But yeah, then he goes to Moraband, and these like Sith ghosts pop up, but then they were just illusions created by the priestesses, because one of George Lucas's rules is that Sith can't have ghosts, which he really should have told the writers like 20 years before he made that episode, because they had already started making Sith ghosts by then. But Sith can't have ghosts, so there's just these fake Sith ghosts that they fight, and then Darth Bane pops up, but he looks like a lava samurai. Even though they had a like perfectly correct looking Darth Bane model for that Mortis episode, they decided, nah, we're gonna make him look different. So they made a different looking Darth Bane, who at least he's voiced by Mark Hamill, which is cool. And like the stuff he describes, it's like a very vague description of basically the Darth Bane story. But then Yoda says, no, you're already dead, and you can't have a ghost, so you're not real. And then he just banishes the ghost away. And then Palpatine and Dooku have like an evil bird bath that it's like that reflecting pool thing that they pour some like Sith alchemy in or something and use to try to attack Yoda psychically long distance. And they have like this whole battle in Yoda's mind where they go to the works, the part of Coruscant where Sidious is hiding out, and Yoda like almost captures him, and they have like a lightsaber battle and stuff, and then that's the end of the series. The series ends with Yoda having a weird vision, I guess, and then going back home, and like I don't know. It was just weird. A lot of the stuff they decided to do with that one.
Yeah, that one is... I don't know how to touch that, honestly. I mean, like, once again, slap for the Force. The idea of...
I mean, it's like, I appreciate the effort that they would be willing to... Especially now, under Disney, where it seems like there's... Like, they're inhibiting the writers from having... Like, at least, okay, so the Rebels writers can still do crazy bullshit. They had time travel in Season 4. But everybody else...
I watched that episode. I actually liked it.
I still need to see it. Like, I'm curious. And, and especially because all the novel writers and the comics writers feel like they've been given a mandate that you cannot do anything too interesting because it might affect other canon. Which is the consequence of wanting to make sure that everything that gets written is immediately canon, and there's no question about that. Is that they have to make sure that it's all safe enough that it's not going to cause any problems. So because of that, and because, Episode 7, Episode 8 do big, interesting things. But then, like, Rogue One solo movie, they hardly do anything that would really affect anything. Like, you don't have to see those movies to know what's going on, which makes them fine for standalone movies, but I appreciate the ambition of, like, the Clone Wars Rebels writers in wanting to do something more than that.
Yeah, even if it's kind of
crazy bullshit that wasn't fully thought out. At least they're trying, which is more than I can say for most of the novels and the Marvel comics right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the way of putting it. The Clone Wars, it really tried very, very hard, and when it succeeded, and when it was bad, it was... At least it was crazy bullshit half the time.
Yeah, at least it was memorable. I mean, there were some other episodes that were just, like, bad, boring filler. Like, I was watching one of the discs from Season 4, and it had one where C-3PO and R2-D2 basically reenact Gulliver's Travels followed by The Wizard of Oz.
Yes, I remember that one. I was really hoping we wouldn't have to bring that one up because all that you said about it is
it happened until I saw it, but yeah.
It happened. We move on with our lives. They had
Yeah, it was a filler episode. They didn't know what to do that week, so...
They didn't know what to do those 3 weeks, I think it was?
Yeah, it was 2 or 3. Like, they had one where they go to the planet of...
Which, actually...
I can't remember the guy. He was a pod racer. But they had a bunch of them. Yeah.
As a kid, I remember when this happened, and I could probably tell you why.
Mm.
They were about to go on spring break.
Mm.
Like, literally, this was the... I think these episodes... I'd have to go and look back up.
I think it was
the
middle of season 4, yeah.
They were about to go on, like, a break for, like, a couple months. So I imagine they were just like, we can't do an actually interesting arc here, sir. Mm. We'd have to cut it off in the middle. Mm. Well, then... Dang it, if we can't do something interesting, we might as well not do something at all. Wait, we can't do that. Hold on.
Mm.
What was that exec yelling at us about again last week? We need more goofy droids. We have a bunch of them already. Yeah, but you need to use the actually popular ones. Mm. George Lucas is yelling at us. We need more toys.
Yeah, and those episodes were following up on the one where they had Jar Jar Binks ends up like posing as the leader of the Gungans because the leader of the Gungans was being brainwashed to turn the Gungans into like starting a civil war against the surface dwellers on Naboo.
Yes, I remember that.
So they put Jar Jar in charge, and then he ends up getting sent like to confront Grievous, and then they have a fight where Grievous gets taken down by Gungans. Which, okay, so Grievous, when the Tartakovsky 2D Clone Wars came out, Grievous was, like, one of my favorite characters, because he's just this, like, badass villain who just shows up, and he's, like, he takes on 6 Jedi at once, and...
He's like Vader. He's a movie, like a horror movie monster.
Yeah, he was the coolest. They had, like, the whole reveal with the 4 arms. They did that in the 2D show before the movie, and it was so much better, because he's, like, hunting Palpatine down, and they've got, like, these 3 Jedi bodyguards for him, and he's like dueling 2 of them at once. They lock sabers, and then he just splits his arms. Now he's got 4 lightsabers, and they're fucked.
Yes, yes, that was cool as heck. I have to admit, but no.
But then the movie came along, and they're like, "Oh, he has a cough now," because George Lucas thought that would be funny. And then he fights Obi-Wan one-on-one, and Obi-Wan's like, "Well, there goes your hand. There goes your other hand. And now I'm just gonna shoot you in the chest a bunch of times, and you're dead."
To be fair, I can think of a way to make that work very quickly and very fast. Like this, I can think of a way to make it work. Have him sitting there coughing and talking until he has to actually fight, and then you... Did you ever see, like, the Avatar: The Last Airbender? Because this is the quickest pull I can think of for this trope.
I've seen the whole series, and I think I saw the movie once.
Do you remember King Boomy? The crazy old guy from the first season?
Probably if I saw him again, yeah, I'd remember.
Crazy old guy, lived in a big city, ate crystals.
Okay.
Well, anyway, the long and short of this, spoilers for that show that's completely unrelated to this show, is that the episode ends...
Season 1.
The episode ends with King Boomy, who's just this crazy old guy who eats crystals and has been challenging them to a bunch of tests all episode, ends up being challenged to fight our main character because he gave him a test. Choose one of these people to fight, and one of them was like a crazy bounty hunter, one of them was like a super tough soldier, and one of them was King Boomy. He chose King Boomy. That decision was wrong because King Boomy was frickin' ripped and like 7 feet tall when he actually stood up, and
Yeah, and like with Grievous, part of it was that when they put him in the show, they were just going off the concept art that they'd been given, and the cough was decided later in production, so they had to retcon it in by having Mace Windu crushes his chest at the last minute as he's escaping with Palpatine. Which, yeah, it's like, that's fine, I can accept that. Then the Clone Wars 3D comes along, and me having, watched this other series so many times, it's like, okay, so we're gonna see Grievous being a badass again, right? Well, no, he always had that cough, I guess. They just, like, overwrite the old version by saying, okay, he's got the cough, and he's basically comedy relief. Like, people talk about him like he's threatening, but the Jedi always beat him, and most of the time he's just rolling his eyes at battle droids who
like, there are a couple of episodes where he's actually genuinely really threatening. Like, I think the first time he ever showed up was...
Oh, the Malevolence one?
Sorry, no. I have... the first time like, in chronological order, I guess. I think this was, like, later on in the first season he ever shows up. Okay. He shows up with, like, this group of commando droids and uses one of basically, like, their breacher pods to burst into the ship, guns down the entire bridge crew with the help of these droids, kills one Jedi and, like, kidnaps the other one and is off and running and just, like...
Okay, yeah, I think I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then you get season 4 where Gungans take him down.
This is true.
Captain Tarples stabs him through the head with the electro staff, and the other ones just throw boomas at him. And
yeah, and, like, he has this, like, jigsaw lair, which is weird. I didn't understand the jigsaw lair, but
yeah, same. Yeah, and like I've been seeing, reviews saying, like, Lair of Grievous is, like, one of the best episodes, and I don't see it, because, like, I don't care that Nadar Veb dies. He was introduced in one episode, and he's just the headstrong Jedi who gets in over his head, and then he dies. It's, like, kind of a trope in Star Wars at this point. Yeah, so I guess then we can talk about Ahsoka, and then try to squeeze some of these questions in.
Oh, no, that bit was mostly a joke. I think I gushed about Ahsoka's arc enough the last time as a lead-in to this.
Yeah.
No, I think although I feel like I should probably end this on a positive note, given we started off positive and then just talked about a bunch of problems we had with the show for most of it. Which, I'm trying to think what angle to attack this from. What was something about the show that... Because you said you liked it more coming back into it. What was something you actually liked about it?
Like, the Anakin stuff, we mentioned that was good. Like, Ahsoka's arc, like, the way it ends, because, when the series started, okay, so Ahsoka shows up, she's Anakin's new Padawan. Clearly she's not there in episode 3, or anything afterward, because she's just been invented for this show that's an interquel. So, clearly something has to happen to her, and, whether she dies, or goes away, or whatever, it was, like, the big question hanging for the whole series. And I thought the way season 5 ended was just so perfect for that, because
Absolutely.
In the end she is expelled from the Jedi Order because they think she's guilty of a crime she didn't commit. A-Team has always been, like, a big inspiration for the writers of this show, but yeah, she's expelled for this crime she didn't do. Anakin tracks down the real person who did it. Although, at the same time, their relationship is strained because he's trying to bring her back in so she can wait while he finds the culprit, and she's like, no, I can't stay here. I have to find the culprit myself.
Because y'all are going to just kill me if I come back. And she's right, but,
Yeah, because Tarkin is the one they've got, like, holding custody on her, and he's determined to have her dead. But
many times over dead.
Yeah. But, eventually, they find Barriss did it, which is a stab in the back to Ahsoka. And then afterward, Yoda and the Jedi show up and they're like, oh, we're sorry. We didn't mean to expel you. You can come back now.
We didn't mean to exile you and give you over to the military authorities that basically promised to kill you or anything.
Yeah, no, we're your real family. We will welcome you back in. And she's like, no, fuck you guys, and just walks out.
Yeah.
Well, not as strongly as that, but...
Wouldn't that be great, though? Just imagine... Just that... the thing she actually said was really poignant, but... Just imagine if that show... I forgot the exact quote. But... Just imagine if that show ended with, no, fuck you guys! Locks off.
Yeah, because it's like they got her walking off, they've got her tune, her musical note sound, song.
Sting, song, theme.
Yeah, that they got that playing as, like, the credit song to her finale, as she walks out of the Jedi Order, which was just such a great way to end it, because where it was, like, up in the air, does she live, does she die, and, like, we were kind of like I was kind of expecting that would be answered, but at the same time, like, having the mystery there is nice, and at the end they still have the mystery there. That's like, well, she wasn't at the Jedi Temple, so she probably didn't get purged, but like anything could happen. So
and it's
so they left it open.
Yeah, and it's a great way to like end the show as a whole, because just killing her off doesn't like could have been an interesting avenue for a story, but like the way they actually went about it puts, you know, another sliver of doubt, another thing on the pile of the Jedi Order. Are we doing the right thing? What went wrong? You know.
Yeah, and then they bring her back in Rebels, and Fate Killer in Season 2, and then Unkiller in Season 4, and now I think she's just there to be, like, the character who will be in all these 3D animated shows as they keep moving forward.
Quite possible.
Now accompanied by the Rebels group, because, like, I haven't seen those Season 4 stuff, but from what I've heard, Ahsoka and Sabine survive, and they're, like, working together to try to find Ezra and Thrawn, who have gotten lost in the depths of space, or something. So, I'm guessing the next series they make for Disney's streaming service or whatever is going to be between 6 and 7, and be about that, but also whatever new cast of characters they come up with.
Quite possibly. I wouldn't know, but I think, honestly, though, to kind of circle back, I think that's typing this up before we get to questions. The Clone... I think you said it best about the Clone Wars and why I like it so much. Is even when it wasn't succeeding, it was always ambitious. It was a show made by Cartoon Network in basically the early 2010s.
Yeah, 2008 was the first...
Yeah, 2008 to 2014. So,
yeah.
About Star Wars, was, by all intents and purposes, could have just been nothing. It could have just been a nothing. It
could have been Rogue One, and it would still get glowing reviews.
Yeah, it was there to make money for Cartoon Network and a failing LucasArts. Like, it didn't have to be
Yeah, because all the
good.
movies were over, and George Lucas went on record saying there will be no 7, 8, or 9. The movie, like the live-action movies, are done.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't have to be good. It just had to exist, and it would make money. I mean, it's Star Wars. It just has to exist, and it will make money.
Yeah,
but
just has to keep the toy factories going.
But yet, they were actually, like, ambitious in what they tried to do with the show, and often it worked. Like, they had a nearly, like, 5-year-long arc going that ended up in the finale. Like, that started back in, like, the second season with a completely unrelated show. I mean, with characters that you could have never really, like, pictured were gonna end up in the place that they ended up, and, like, it was ambitious, and I love it for that ambition.
So questions, okay, let's see, we've got, from Eugene, this one's Clone Wars, favorite clone? He also asked, do clones have personalities in the show? Yes. Yes, very
actually,
much so.
Yeah.
More than, like, any previous thing, except maybe the Karen Traviss novels, but even then they were all, like, personality is warrior.
Listen, they all had a lot of personality, but it was all the same personality, and let's not talk about Karen Traviss, please.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, especially if you go back and play, like, the Xbox Revenge of the Sith game, it is weird because you see Obi-Wan, like, running around. He's like, after the clones have turned on him, the clones are now your fodder enemies that you're cutting down. So Obi-Wan's, like, slicing through them and saying, like, a clone will never be as good as a Jedi. And it just feels so weird after you see, you know, the Clone Wars game, or not game, this Clone Wars TV show that came out years later, where they were, like, friends with the Jedi, like, close friends, and, you know, they all were, like, unique people with personalities
as
and
if
stuff.
that actually makes it a tragedy or something. Who knew? as if having your close friends turn on you and murder you is actually tragic, as opposed to just...
Yeah, like, they had so much personality that they had to make up in Season 6. The reason that they turned on the Jedi was because they had these, like, biological microchips stuck in their heads.
To make sure that they turn.
Yeah.
Which, I like to imagine that's also in-universe as much as it is out-of-universe. They're like, wait, hold on. You're not supposed to be friends with... Okay, fine, let's just deal with this one.
Yeah, because, like, the old canon reason was that it was a contingency plan in case the Jedi turn on the Republic, and the characterization of the clones in that was that these are guys who will follow orders no matter what. So that's why they would do it.
Yeah.
But the clones in the show are people who are also soldiers, and so... Yeah, so they had to have the extra insurance to make sure that they would kill the Jedi.
Yeah, which honestly, I kind of like the part of me that enjoys a tragedy enjoys that a lot somehow. Like the part of me that's just like, so congratulations, you're gonna become good friends with someone, and then the worst moment of your life, you're gonna have absolutely no control over as yourself mercilessly gun down people you've been working with for the better part of a half decade, and then get filed off to go sit in a dead desk job until you die.
Yeah, your accelerated aging kills you.
Yeah.
Although they did also in Rebels, they used that whole plot device thing to make it so that they could have recurring clones because they decide to just pull the microchips out of their heads.
That is true.
Surgically. So I guess as for favorite clone, I haven't paid close enough attention to their personalities, so I would probably just go with Rex because he's the one we saw the most of.
I have a soft spot in my head for Fives. That's the one that comes to my head, although I'm sure if you really pressed me on it, I could come up with...
Fives was the one who did the most in that Rookies episode.
Right? Yes, and he comes back throughout the ARC Troopers stuff a lot. Fives was really good, and honestly, did not deserve what happened to him. Poor guy. Gets killed because all he wanted to do was keep from killing people. And unleash. Wrong place, wrong time, found out about a giant galaxy-wide conspiracy.
Okay, so he was the one who died in that microchips episode.
Yeah. At least, okay, I just checked to make sure, because, gosh, that was going to be a big bad if I did not remember that correctly. But yes, also, Wolf, good Jedi. Or, good clone. Good clone, best Jedi. Honorary.
Yeah, it would have been cool if one of the clones had accidentally had a high enough midichlorian count to be trained as a Jedi. You just have a clone Jedi. Although, I mean, whatever, they're bacteria. Just bring a clone over to midichlorian planet, let him sunbathe there for a while, and now he can be a Jedi. I assume that's how that works.
Do you think that's how Jedi are made? They just take kids to the midichlorian planet and just let them just...
I mean, it is weird that, like, one, that the planet exists, and two, that Yoda would know its location. Like...
That is true.
Like, that seems like a thing that would come up more often.
Do you think Jedi are first vampires that they stay outside of the sun too long and use their force powers?
I mean... The midichlorians supposedly exist, like, on and in every living thing. I imagine them like the bacteria in my fish tank that keeps my fish alive. They're just, like, on every surface.
Absolutely, but, I mean, they all come from one planet, so... Can they get indoors?
Yeah, it seems like it's just the galaxy... It happened so long ago that every surface of every planet everywhere is saturated with the stuff.
That's true. I just like the idea of Jedi being inverse vampires.
Mm.
They stay inside for too long at a dinner party and they start melting. Hold on 1 second. I gotta go take a smoke break. Walks outside.
Yeah, because I know, like, Expanded Universe, they would have things of, like, planets devoid of the Force because either Darth so-and-so, like, sucked the Force out of the planet, or,
yeah.
Nihilus did that a few times, I think, in Knights of the Old Republic 2, when there was, Vitiate, I think, was the one from the Old Republic. Revan finds a planet that guy had just, like, sucked dry.
And then, of course, everybody's favorite biological monstrosities that should never exist. The Ysamari. The Ysamari? You know, the fuzzy lizards that absolutely
the ones who create a force bubble
move under any circumstances.
Yeah, they project a bubble that blocks out the force to keep the force-hunting predators from being able to track them, which makes sense as an idea until you get the biological component, and then I don't know that anything in Star Wars ever really made sense anyway.
Yes, I can't say they don't make sense, because there are weirder creatures that exist out there in the world, but there is a certain evolutionary problem in creating a creature that is stuck in place permanently forever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because they're just gonna keep sucking on that tree, and
they always gotta suck on that tree.
Yeah. I assume they must reproduce by budding.
I presume. Hold on. Maybe they're just Maybe they're just space dryads. Do the trees make them? Maybe.
Maybe.
Listen, like I said, they're my favorite biological abomination that should never exist. Anyway, questions.
Okay. So then, so we got Hustle over on Twitter, and there are some Revan questions, but most of them aren't directly related to Star Wars, so I'll try to get back into those before we finish. But Hustle, okay. So why exactly are the stars warring to begin with?
Depends on when you ask.
I assume the stars are all fighting each other because it's the Oscars or something, and they gotta win that.
Well, that's true.
Or it's some kind of reality show, and Star Wars. You get all of the big celebrities, and they're all competing for a prize to give to a charity or whatever.
Isn't that the plot to Ready Player One?
As far as I know, I haven't read or watched it, and I have no desire to really. Okay, but then he has another question. Which Rebel fighter craft is aesthetically the best? My vote is for the Y-Wing. The Y-Wing's good.
Y-Wing is very good.
Yeah, I think I like the X-Wing a lot. The X-Wing is just classic.
The X-Wing is classic.
Personal bias for the V-Wing Airspeeder because of the N64 Rogue Squadron game.
I can get behind that. C95 Headhunter is good. I have a deep-seated love for the E-Wing. Hold on 1 sec. Let me redo that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I've seen an E-Wing. I don't remember exactly where it came from. It was probably some book. I would guess it's probably one of the Rogue Squadron books or something.
Well, I know I saw it in Dark Empire.
Okay. Yeah,
with the World Devastators. And then I think they showed up in what was that? Was the new Jedi Order books?
Okay.
The Del Rey ones, you know.
Yeah, the Yuuzhan Vong arc.
Yeah, because they're just really nice looking in a lot of people's depictions of them. There's some of them where they make the top cannon just this big bulky Lego brick of a gun, and they don't look as good then. But
yeah, if I had to pick least favorite, it would be the B-Wing, because the B-Wing looks nothing like a bee. So I never understood that.
So it deducts points immediately.
Yeah. The B-Wing is more of an X-Wing than even the X-Wing, really.
The B-Wing also does have a certain aesthetic to it. Also, I'm pretty sure the B just stands for bomber there, because
okay.
If I
Yeah,
had to take a guess, just off the top of my head, I don't know what it actually stands for in universe, but it's George Lucas.
I just know it's a bizarre looking thing that's been credited to Admiral Akbar for designing it. So
presumably drunk Admiral Akbar.
Yeah.
I need a ship that can spin. What do you, sir? That's stupid. Why would you? That's useless in space. I want a ship that can spin.
Yeah, it's more like a plus wing or a cross wing.
If I can't do barrel rolls around my own fighter, what use is it? Sorry, now I just realized the B is for barrel roll.
Yeah, because I don't think it really has much of a bomb load to... The Y-wing is the bomber.
Yeah. The B is for barrel roll.
B is for bullshit.
Fair. So yes, my vote in this hunt is for E-wing, unless I can think of something better off the top of my head, which I can't.
Yeah, and I would go for X-wing, V-wing, airspeeder. I mean, aesthetically it's fine. It's kind of basic. I mostly just like it because it had seek and cluster missiles, which made those levels a lot easier.
That is true. It's. What's up next?
Okay, so then we got Xeno. Okay. Would it be unfair to characterize the Jedi as incompetent? Do you find it strange the Jedi aren't allowed to get married or have romantic partners?
It would be unfair to characterize them as incompetent. Okay, mostly because I'm going to argue. In the prequel trilogy, nobody is competent. So, arguing that they're especially incompetent, I would not be able to say that, and nobody is competent, so we're just going to have to assume that the standard level of competency of the universe is lower in Star Wars.
If we go off their competence in the Clone Wars TV show, they are generally competent. I mean, they
have blind spots.
Yeah, like, they beat the bad guys for the most part, but they just can't figure out that Palpatine is Sidious because
they legally aren't allowed to.
Yeah. But otherwise, like, I think they beat the bad guys more often than not.
Yeah, and they're actually intelligent about how they go about plans and understanding plots and, like, figuring stuff out.
Yeah, like, they kind of get overwhelmed by the fact that there are villains from so many sources, because after season 1 of the show, they realized we can't keep going with Jedi versus... Republic versus Separatists. Like, these stories have already been done so many times in the previous Clone Wars.
So it's basically the Jedi versus the universe.
Yeah, because then you get season 2, it's like, okay, bounty hunters, Mandalorians, zombies, Godzilla. Season 3, it's called the Zillo Beast.
More
it's Godzilla.
Sith. More Sith.
Season 3, we got more Sith, we got the Night Sisters, we got Darth Maul's brother, who ends up leading into the reintroduction of Darth Maul.
Who ends up becoming a Mandalorian.
He assembles a crime cabal of the Mandalorians, the Black Sun,
which
and
are the Super Space Mafia and the Super Space Bank
drug
Mafia.
Kingpins, yeah, like the Pikes are in charge of the spice trade, and Black Sun is the Mafia. They're the like super crime organization. So you got Darth Maul and all of them conquering Mandalore before Sidious steps in to put an end to that. And then you've got Dooku and Sidious and doing like Sith stuff on top of the Separatist stuff that Dooku's doing, along with General Grievous in there. So and then they've got like the Hutts come up at a few points, and I mean, like, they took the fact that it's called the Clone Wars and not the Clone War, and used that to justify just a war on every front happening in this 3-year span.
Everything goes down. Like, if there is a problem in Star Wars, it happens at some point in the show. It goes down.
And then even I think it was in season 6, Jar Jar Binks goes to like some Sith something. I don't know. There's like an evil dark magic thing that is basically the Temple of Doom from Indiana Jones. So
Also, the Jedi in general, I would never classify as incompetent, like most works, excluding Karen Travis, but we're not talking about Karen Travis. And her weird obsession with how horrible the Jedi are. But I'd say they just have like blind spots, which is what happens when you have an organization that has goals and ethics. They have blind spots in how they see the world.
Yeah, and also they, I mean, it's not really incompetence so much as like they were just so old and set in their ways. You know, like they couldn't see that. Like, I don't think the show really like the show did mention that, you know, they take force, like, babies with force powers and induct them into the Jedi Order, and, you know, try to convince the people they're taking their babies from that it's an honor that they were selected to be a Jedi. They've just been doing that for so long that they don't see it as a problem anymore, and like they do touch on in season 5 that the murder Ahsoka is framed for is that there was I mean, okay, it wasn't that one. There was one before that. It's complicated, but there's a bombing on the Jedi Temple, and some of the people who died were just like civilians who work there. And as like the Jedi are trying to explain to just the general people of Coruscant that, you know, we're handling this investigation, they're having it thrown in their face just how like elitist they are compared to everyone else. Like, it's a struggle for anyone who's not born with force powers to even go anywhere near the Jedi Temple. Like, there's like a class difference there, and they've been the elite for so long that they don't see it anymore.
They can't see their own problems because the problems they couldn't address those problems outside of an environment in which they were brought up constantly in the wake of the war, and they could not possibly address them in the war because this is a thing that comes up a lot in the Clone Wars. Basically, every day it's getting ready to die day.
Yeah.
Like, we don't have time to address the systematic problems of the Jedi Order. We're kind of in the middle of, we've lost half of our numbers in months.
Yeah.
And
that they were just, they've just been like regular peacekeepers, and now they've been roped into this galaxy-wide war.
Yeah. I think the best way to put it is, like, imagine if one day somebody showed up at MIT and threw a bunch of people into the back of the office and went, alright, you're conducting our war now. Have fun. See if you can't solve Afghanistan for us. Oh, and by the way, we started a war with, Germany, all of Africa, and, the moon. Good luck.
Let's see. Okay, and then Xeno's next set of questions. Has Ruby finally obtained her training as a sword lesbian? What kind of sword does she have? Is the sword sentient? Is it magical?
Programming note. Should I answer this in character or out of character? It's out of character.
Either way.
Swords are expensive.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of depends on the quality of the sword. I've found, like, metal blades for $30, but they're not, like, the good ones.
Well, you'll just have to find out, won't you? The next person.
Just gonna leave that one hanging. Okay, Xeno's last questions. Who dropped a moon on Chewie's head and why? And these other questions. Which anthropomorphic representation of death is the hottest? So we'll answer those separately because they're unrelated. The other one was just something that came up in the Discord about Deadpool and death. The Yuuzhan Vong dropped a moon not intentionally on Chewbacca's head. It's a thing. Okay, so in the Yuuzhan Vong, they have like this alien technology. They don't use metal technology. They use like creatures that can do the same things as technology. So there's this creature in their galaxy, because they're from another galaxy, that can like increase the gravity of a thing like so much that they can like pull the moon down out of the sky and smash a planet with it. And because they're so used to that in Vong territory, they have countermeasures to it. But they knew that the people in the Star Wars galaxy wouldn't. So, in one of their first attacks on the galaxy, they send that creature thing to a planet that just happens to have Han, Chewie, and Han's son, Anakin, there. And so the planet was completely unprepared. The moon is getting pulled down onto the planet. Han and Chewie and Anakin are trying to evacuate as many people as possible. And there wasn't enough room on the ship, and it was like kind of last minute, so Chewie gets Anakin to safety on the ship, but ends up getting stuck behind and dies when the planet's destroyed. So that's why a moon fell on his head. Also, in my researching about canon, okay, so apparently the death of Chewbacca, they credit that as the reason why they decided to reboot the entire expanded universe, because they knew they would want to bring Chewbacca back for a movie. So they said, okay, if we're gonna retcon this, we might as well retcon everything. Or reboot everything. So, I guess that's why it seems like Chewbacca, they'll kill Han Solo, they'll kill Luke Skywalker, they'll kill Leia, but it seems like they're never gonna kill Chewbacca again, because people really like their walking dog people, I guess. Like, I've never been a Chewbacca fan, to be honest. Like, if I had to pick a hot take from that question we had last time, and Toshiro asked us to give a hot take, my hot take is I don't like Chewbacca. Or
Wait.
At least I don't care about Chewbacca.
Okay, I was going to say, because there's two ways to frame that question. You just don't care about Chewbacca, or you actively dislike Chewbacca.
Oh, no, I don't have, like, an issue with Chewbacca, but I don't really care about Chewbacca or Wookiees. So, like, when the Force Awakens trailer came out, and they're like, oh, Han and Chewie are back, I'm like, okay. I never really cared that much about either of them, to be honest. And now the Solo movie's coming out, and it's like, hey, look, Chewbacca! I'm like, okay. More Chewbacca, sure.
Anthropomorphic representation of death.
Okay, hot death.
I mean, all of them? All of them are good. I would argue.
Is the Discworld death hot?
Yes. Yeah, of course. What? Hades. Hades is a great husband.
He's got fire hair. Of course he's hot.
Yes, but also just... Listen, Hades gets a lot of bad rap, but he's a beautiful, beautiful husband. He honestly just... wants to sit around and play with his dog named Spot. His giant 3-headed dog named Spot. Like, jeez Louise. And, like, let his wife have a good day, play with his dog Spot, and occasionally just, make simple deals with mortals that then simply can't follow through.
Okay, so then we've got Revan's questions to wrap things up. Let's see. Okay, 2 of these are relating to Star Wars, so what would you do with a visiting Wookiee, and how would you let him or her... Okay, how long would you let them crash on your couch? Okay, so a Wookiee shows up at your house and has nowhere else to go. What do you do?
How tall is this Wookiee?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question.
My couch is all you probably need to find a new place to sleep, because it's going to be running into pops.
I mean, it's going to shed everywhere, definitely. And
I have 2 dogs.
Okay.
Everything is already covered in hair.
Yeah, and like, if it's a full-grown Wookiee, you're not going to argue with that, because it can rip your arms out of your sockets. Which, apparently, there's a deleted scene for Force Awakens where Chewbacca was going to rip Unkar Plutt's arms out of his sockets. But it didn't happen.
I would have paid to see that.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be, after they get to Takodana, Unkar Plutt shows up, and he's like, hey, I need Rey back now. And Chewbacca just rips his arms out. But I guess they didn't do that because they might bring the character back. I mean, he's kind of their new Jabba the Hutt. So, maybe he'll come back in episode 9.
Is he though?
I mean, he's like the obese crime lord-ish kind of person who has like a debt on one of the main characters and lives on the desert planet.
I mean, I guess. This reminds me of, like, a Jawa with a thick Italian accent than Jabba the Hutt.
Yeah, I mean, he's not as intense as Jabba the Hutt, for sure.
Yeah. It's just like a scrapyard guy who makes really unfavorable deals, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, and who... okay, yeah, going off of that deleted scene, if he was going to track Rey to another planet to try to get her back, does that mean he has a slave contract on her, or... Because it seemed like she was more of a freelancer who was just, finding stuff for him.
Unless he's like, I need my best freelancer back. My business is dying.
Yeah, he's stuck with that guy on the, whatever robo donkey thing that...
Yeah.
That's his only other scrapper.
I've lost half my inventory.
Yeah, who else is gonna pick apart the remains of these Star Destroyers and stuff?
Everybody else works at big studies. Nobody else is stupid enough to have this study.
Yeah, could even send someone to go pick apart that shiny new TIE fighter that Finn and Poe crashed into the desert. I mean, it's in a sinkhole now, but it's probably still there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like his other questions didn't really relate to Star Wars, and we're up to almost 2 hours. A little bit of it will get cut out, but yeah, I think so. So okay, so I guess so thank you for joining me for this discussion, Ruby. I was kind of surprised that we managed to go like 3/4 of the episode before getting to any questions. I think that's a first.
Well, what can I say? I was really extremely passionate to talk about this, and I ramble a lot before I get to any points, so...
Yeah, so, till next time, may the funk be with you.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, that click is... I'm muting it to avoid turning this into our own version of the zombie brain episodes.
Okay, well, we're gonna lose that good joke because this whole part's getting cut, but...
Oh, darn.